Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Persuading for Profits. I'm your host, Brent Hoodenpile. This is the podcast that shows salespeople, especially radio and broadcast salespeople, how to sell. It equips them with the tools, the strategies, the techniques they need to go out and crush the sales world out there. If you're a salesperson, you're in the right place. If you're a radio salesperson, you're especially in the right place. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great guest with us today. This is Mr. Luke Jorgensen on the podcast with me, coming to us from Southern Utah. Luke, how are you doing today?
Good, Brent. Glad to be here. Excited to be here with you.
Glad to have you. Thank you for reaching out. I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Now, Luke has. I'm going to have Luke tell you his story here. It's quite an interesting story in selling, and a lot of it around what I think is the hardest kind of selling. Again, I think all selling is a challenge, but especially the door-to-door sales. And he is not only an expert at that, he is at the top of his game in that. And so, Luke, welcome to the show. I guess before we really get into the nuts and bolts, how long have you always been in sales? Have you always been selling, or is it something that you found yourself in later on as you progress through life?
Yeah, it's definitely later on. It's kind of a second career of mine, and my first career. I was a teacher, high school teacher, and a coach. And so living that life, I enjoyed what I did. I liked what I did, but it just didn't make the bills for me. And
Right.
And so I always had like a little summer job, some type of, supportive income. And I'd heard about an opportunity. And I knew guys in college that went and sold door to door, and they went and maybe it was alarms, maybe it was pest control, a lot of different things. And I heard about the idea, and I'm like, maybe I could check it out. And so I reached out to a guy, and he said, hey, you ought to come check this out, and you actually ought to check out the solar energy industry. And I'm like, I knew nothing about solar. So I just said, well, okay, let me, I talked to him for a little bit. And then over the course of a couple months, and then finally the summer came, and I decided to go do it. And for 2 weeks I did it and tried it. And me and my wife, we said, hey, let's jump. I think I can do this. I see the opportunity. I see these guys doing XYZ, making this type of money. And I'm like, I bet I can make at least half what they make. Right. Like, they don't seem anything special, but
Right.
Little did I know they'd been selling for a long time. But Anyway, so we decided to make the jump, and we jumped into door-to-door sales, moved across the country, moved to Maryland. And
Wow.
Luckily, I got in with great people, great teammates, great leadership, and I honestly just got really, really lucky. But the thing that I like looking back is like I took that jump, Sometimes we're thinking about something and we're like, we don't know. But what in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have to do it because I can't handle the what ifs.
Right.
What if I would have tried it, and what if it would have worked, and I just couldn't handle that thought. So yeah, we jumped in, and 10 years later, sold door to door full time, led teams 9 of those years full time. So you kind of do both in that world. So as a manager, you don't just sit back in the office. You're literally what we call leading from the front. You're out there in the trenches, in the doors, in the neighborhoods, and selling day to day. So yeah, it's been a great ride.
Well, you said something interesting there, and I think this is so key, and I think it's kind of often overlooked, is a new salesperson, the culture they find themselves in when they start their career, that alone can make or break you, right? I mean, if you're around people that you respect, people that are doing great, people that are making big money, and it's a good team environment and some people are willing to pour into you, man, that is a game changer. I wonder how many careers have been lost just because great salespeople started off with the wrong culture or the wrong team.
Oh, 100%. 100%. At the time, I didn't know, but they were actually the top. And when I was there for a year in that office, we were the top office in the whole company.
Oh, wow.
And so that's, I think at the time it was nine states or so. And so I got super lucky. And because I had great mentorship right away, like we had an office full of people that had come from the alarm side of sales, and so they'd already sold, and then we had a mix of people like myself that kind of like didn't have any sales experience, and that mentorship, that leadership, and then a lot of those things that I learned as far as team building, team culture, like I took kind of throughout my whole career, and kind of been, and as a team leader, kind of known for that type of a culture and good things happening. Yeah, but the mentorship is key, and that's like one of my themes now is like everyone needs a good coach.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So some people have it built into their organization, but a lot of people don't, and a lot of people, there's good coaching out there, and I think hopefully people think I'm one of those guys, and there's opportunities, and there's a lot of places now, luckily, that you can go get good coaching, even if it's not within your organization.
Yeah, that's very cool. Now, I guess, how important was it that you had been a coach in your previous career going into sales? How much did that help you and give you kind of an advantage over other people who maybe didn't have that background?
A little bit in a couple ways. So the first thing is I didn't know anything. So that was actually a good thing in a way, because I took it as like I literally didn't know anything. So I wasn't trying to be, the guy or with an ego at all. I just like, hey, these were college kids at the time. I'm like, hey, just teach me what to say. Teach me what to do.
Right.
Like, and I just thought, well, I'm going to learn from these experts, even though they're, a lot younger than me, but they knew more than I did. So I just humbled myself. And so I think that's a good, I don't know why I thought of that, but I just did. And then later I like, oh man, that was honestly pretty smart of me to do that. But the people skills really helped from teaching and coaching. So those type of skills, being good with people, translates to a lot of different careers and a lot of different paths, but especially in sales. The people skills really, really helped me, because I was used to, I taught for 10 years, so I was used to, communicating with teachers, students on a day-to-day basis, and communicating was a big thing.
So what was the most surprising thing that what shocked you the most about maybe sales in general, and about maybe door-to-door sales specifically when you got into it? What was the thing like, oh man, I didn't expect that, or I didn't think this would be that hard, or what really hit you in the face when you first started your career?
Man, there were so many surprises because every door is different, which is one of the great and one of the bad things about it. Probably the biggest thing is I didn't realize how nuanced sales was. Like, I did not realize, like, okay, like, he's saying this, and it's on my script to say this. How come I'm not getting what he's getting, Like, how I mean, he's selling 2 a day, and I'm over here maybe every other day selling 1, So just the nuance, and sales is really interesting because you can have success early, which is great, but it takes a long time, way longer than I thought, to like get good at it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if I was expecting that or not, and so even salespeople now, to go from like good to great is really quite a process. It's quite a process.
Right.
I mean, it's years and years. And so I think understanding that, and I think always being a learner and always being like willing to like take good ideas wherever you get them and apply them, I think was key. But yeah, it was surprising all the way around. I would say one surprise is people were a lot nicer than I expected, honestly.
Oh, it's good. Right.
Yeah. So I heard the horror story. I mean, everyone in that industry kind of talks about the one jerk, or the one bad experience. But I didn't find that at all. As far as I just thought, and it worked pretty well. I thought, if I treat people pretty kind and pretty straightforward, they'll reciprocate. And for the most part, I would say 99% of people did that.
That's very cool. So as far as And yes, I agree. I think for the most part, was it Jim Rohn said something about, that most people are really pretty nice, but, it seems like you just keep running into the bad people sometimes, it's like that, or something like that. There's not very many bad people in the world, but they are out there, right? But most people are really pretty kind. So what are the, and you said a couple of things there. From good to great in sales, I think the good salesperson is really a person that's polite, they're kind, they have some good people skills, but they're really just order takers, right? They're really just, they hang in there long enough and they get the people who are already, okay, well, they'll kind of do it. But for me, I would guess, and maybe for you too, it's those people that aren't necessarily the rollover right away or even the second, hanging in there. It's like the people that you really have to sell to. What is the difference in your view between a good salesperson and a great salesperson? And is it is how much of it is mastering those nuances that you were talking about? I mean, between, hey, we're saying the same script, but this guy's getting more sales. What are those nuances? I'm sorry, I'm asking like 4 questions here. What are those nuances, and how do they take you from being a good salesperson to a great salesperson?
Yeah, you're right, 100%. So it is very nuanced, and it does take a lot. And there are a lot of things that can take you from good to great, right? So to get good is, you got to have a really good framework that you follow, right? And you're right. Like there's just showing up. If you're like, say you're new in sales, right? Just showing up, you'll find people that you'll sell to just by showing up. You don't have to be good. They'll buy from anybody.
Right.
And the fact that you were there at that time, like you'll get those, right? Now, and so you can have a lot of success just by working hard, just by getting out, just by making the call, making the connection, whatever it is, right? And you'll have a lot of success and actually make a pretty good income if you're in a right industry. But going from there to there, it's a lot of steps, and there's a lot of nuances, and it's hard kind of to pinpoint that. But I would say in buckets maybe is the mentality. So great salespeople have the right mentality. I think a big mentality that I talk a lot about is getting in the other person's shoes. Stop trying to sell for you and start trying to sell for them, because you have something that they need and want and that will benefit them. But if you're so focused on what you get and what you, right? I think that's a big one, is that mentality of shifting to the other person. And really, when my sales really took off, it's when I found out that the product actually helped people and it saved them money, right? That was a big thing, is it helped them save money. So when I saw the numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually works. Like, this is good for them. Then all of a sudden, you can kind of sell on their side. And I think that mentality is big. And then the skill-wise, I think there's a ton of skill-wise. There's a ton of small nuanced things that's probably hard to go into, but it's just as simple as like one big thing I think is a lot of people don't ask enough questions. They'll ask one and leave it at that and think they have the answer. And it's like, no, you got to like peel those layers of the onion layers, know. As Shrek says, ogres have layers, right? So you got to peel those layers back a little bit, ask another question, and kind of dial that in a little bit. And I think just the skill level, and then the third one obviously is the work ethic, right? You got to have elite work ethic to get to that next step.
Yeah, no matter how you slice it, it's still a reps game, right? I mean, you can't, it's the David Sandler book. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar, right? You can't read the book and know how to sell. You got to go out there and do it and get in the reps and find. I mean, that's the advantage though, right? Is that you've had more sales conversations than that person has. So if you hear that same response 20 times, you can, okay, now I can try this response to that. Then you go hear it 20 more times. Okay, that response worked a little bit better. What if I responded this way, right? So as far as, and I think you're right too about asking questions. I think most salespeople try to demonstrate their expertise and who said that? Don Lazari, I think, was on here. But you really demonstrate your expertise not with the answers that you give, not by having all the answers, but by having intelligent questions to ask too, about the person and their needs and how your product can fill them. Did you, as you went through your career, and now you knocked on, do you have any idea of how many doors you've knocked on? Actually, have you?
No, I have no idea. So I know I have over 800 people that have solar on their home because I talked to them. So I was able to sell, which is like top 1% in the industry. But
wow,
the number of doors, like I have no idea. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. Literally no idea. It's that many. I ran out of fingers and toes long ago to count those doors, but.
How many would you try to knock on a day? Did you have a goal that you set for yourself?
So I didn't because, and so like metrics is a big thing for me, like tracking metrics and stuff. But it was hard because you'd say, hey, I want to knock on 20 doors a day. But if you were able to sell 2 people, that you're not able to knock on that many doors a day because you're spending a lot of good quality time. So it cuts into you. So I looked at it like just work the hours, like clock in, clock out, like just work the hours. And I felt, and there different guys did different things, like some people would track like how many pitches they made and that type of thing. But I literally just like, hey, I'm just going to do my best for X amount of hours. And I felt like that really alleviated a lot of pressure from me. Because in every interaction I was into it, not everyone, of course I had my bad days and my bad pitches and all that stuff, of course, right? But I tried to be in it and just work the hours. And I got that advice pretty early. And I tried other things throughout my life because I hear, oh, this guy does this thing or this girl does this and different things. But I found just working the hours really benefited me. Because honestly, if I knocked 3 doors and had 3 sales, that's just as good of a day. That's a better day than right. I didn't get my 20 doors in,
Right.
So that's the way I looked at it.
Do you still do that, or are you strictly in coaching mode now?
No, I've transitioned all the way to coaching, so I'm all in on coaching now. So what I found is that industry is so good at sales. It's literally like I go all the different places and just talk to salesmen. I'm like, oh man, what are you doing, bud? Like, I just like every once in a while I find someone that's good, but it's pretty rare.
Right.
And so I've just been like, there's a need. I've always known there's a need, there's a want for like what we taught in this little like corner of our world, right? And so I'm getting it out there. I'm offering the secrets, so to speak, and I'm excited to do it. And I love the coaching. I love the training part. So it's one thing I was really, really good at, and I always liked doing it. I always liked training the new guys. I always liked, mentoring them to go from, the old guys from good to great. Like, I just like the coaching. So it's a great fit for me. I'm really excited about
it. That's very cool. Do you miss it though? Do you miss going out there and knocking on the doors?
Yeah, I do. It's weird. It's so weird.
You got addicted
right?
to it, right?
Yeah. I know, right? Yeah. It's so weird. So I miss my guys, like my team for sure. Like those, like I like get to see them, but not as often as you did day to day. And so probably tell I'm like love people, and then I always just like meeting new people. Like and luckily in the coaching I'm able to do that. But that part too is different because you walk in someone's house and it's just they're a little bit more open, I would say, like when you're in someone's house than like another place, just because you're in their space, right? And so they're like, you become a guest really quickly, and like the walls are down a little bit. So I know that's a little bit different, and so you see lots of crazy things out there, but yeah. I'll miss the crazy cat ladies probably a little bit. But
good thing you weren't allergic.
In the house, you need to walk. Well, that's the thing. Sometimes you're like, oh, your eyes are itching. And you're like, well, can we go outside for a minute? So.
Well, that is funny too, and I kind of agree with you. you have to be so good at sales to do door-to-door sales. I mean, if you really want to, I mean, that and probably just cold calling phone sales are very challenging. And I agree with you kind of about the level of sales. I think that we kind of missed, I saw one of your favorite books is Zig Ziglar's book on selling. And you have a lot of old school 20th century books that, that we were familiar with that nobody knows about anymore. And it was a different kind of mindset back then, I think. And I think a lot of the younger generations are, I don't know, maybe some of that's been lost is all I'll say there. But what are like you said, nobody can sell like these guys. When you go help train other people, what are the biggest problems that you see with selling today, with people trying to sell? And especially in contrast to the guys that you've trained and the guys that you worked with in the door-to-door industry. And is there like one or two or three really common things that you see is the same thing over and over and over again that you have to go in and correct right away?
Yeah, that's why my intro course is that. So my intro course is called Smooth Selling. And so it's a framework. And so what I see, it's crazy to me that I have people that have sold for sometimes long periods and they don't have a framework and a flow.
Right.
It is a step by step, but it's within a framework that's flexible, right? And so because sales is conversing back and forth, a lot of times people will get bumped off their flow or where they're at.
Right.
And they don't really have a plan. And to me, that's crazy. Like that's
right.
Like to not have a plan. I'm not saying the plan always works, but to not have a proven plan to go from A to B to C to progress the sale from start to closing, I'm shocked that people are like, well, sometimes I do this. And like, I think what's happening is people, they don't have the right framework, so they try different things. And it's like,
yes.
And I did that too because I was really good at like learning. And then all of a sudden, like I kind of passed some people and I started trying some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And which is fine, try things here and there. And I actually discovered one big thing that I include is I actually like figured it out. And then I heard people talk about it later. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing that for a little while now. But I think having that framework is really, really basic, but it's so powerful. Like it's so powerful. And the way we teach it is like you could use that framework for anything. You could walk into and have $1 billion board meeting and use that framework. Like you could use it literally for an elevator pitch. Is like, hey, what do you do? And it's like, look, you can go, and then I'll give it to you. You have a hook. So we have a hook, getting someone's attention. We have a problem. We don't talk about the solution until we talk about the problem.
Right.
So a lot of times people will skip right to the features, why this is so great. They'll skip the problem. It's like, well, there's no reason for a solution without a problem. So the problem, then the solution, and then what we call a takeaway. So we're going to take the cookie away from a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a little bit of psychology. And then we're going to transition. A lot of times people, they don't do the last two. They don't do a takeaway where there's like a little bit of scarcity or it might not work or I'm not pushing you so much down the road. Like I need to make sure this is a good fit for me, for you, for like, let's just figure that out. So
right.
Kind of take away a little bit, offering the cookie and then taking away the cookie. And then the transition, a lot of people like, they picture sales as like, hey, let's reach out and shake hands, right? Have this magical moment, there's lightning flashing and like, balloons go off and, with confetti in the air. That's not sales at all. Sales is a slow transition. It's a slow transition from start to all of a sudden they have the product, they have the service, they're done. And it's not like, hey, there's that one moment. And so a lot of people
right.
miss that. The way I describe it is like the sun coming up. So at what point does it get light? I don't know. Like it's just getting lighter and lighter and lighter until all of a sudden the sun's up. And so that's the way sales should be. It's going from start to all of a sudden, yeah, we have the product, we have the service, and we're moving forward.
Yeah, you said a couple of things in there. I think one of the things that I see a lot is everybody, I don't know why. I mean, because uncovering the problem takes asking questions, right? And I think people don't feel that that's a part of the process at all. And that is the most important part of the process. And then oftentimes they won't skip to, because you can't really skip to the benefits. Then you're still talking features at that point. You're still talking what you have to offer. You don't know what's really going to benefit them because you don't really know what they're going to need, right? And that's a great framework. And I love everything you said there, especially the slow transition. I don't think people really understand that at all, that it's not just like, hey, sold or whatever, you know. Maybe it does happen like that a few times, but that is also really powerful too, because a lot of people are afraid of, they don't know how to make that transition, right? And then they'll pull their punch on asking a closing question or something, and get left with a maybe, or get left with a hang in there. And maybe the guy even really wanted to buy, you know, he just didn't have the salesperson didn't have the skills to drag them across the line. So in the course, now put that into a door-to-door selling situation for me. All that has to happen really pretty quick, especially the first part of that, right? I mean, I guess the hook is the most important part in the door-to-door selling, correct?
Yeah, you got to get their attention. So in anything, and honestly, it's gotten where I used to say, hey, you got a minute with your hook. Now I think with social media, it's like you got like 20 seconds. I think we're like,
right.
You know, like on social media they say a hook's like 3 seconds, right? But like I think like that's came into our world a little bit, where people are like, swipe, you know. And so you got to be able to get their attention. A good way to do that is asking a question. Questions are so powerful, because when you ask a question, all of a sudden the other person has to think. And that's good in sales. Like them thinking gives you more time. Them speaking gives you more time. I look at a question as like resetting the shot clock. You know, in basketball, you know, if you any NBA guys, like they have a certain time where they have to shoot it by, right? They have the ball and they got to shoot the ball by a certain time. And so I look at like that. Like anytime you ask a question, it kind of resets that. Like, hey, get away from me, like shot clock. So if you ask a question, it'll reset it. That's a good way to do it. So I always like to start with a question. I mean, and you got to be a little different too. One thing we teach with hooks is like, if you're say you're cold calling, and I follow this one guy, I forget his name. I wish I should give him credit, but he literally says, "Hey, would you hate me if you knew this was a cold call?" And so it's different enough, right? Because think about all the cold calls we've gotten, right? Hey, this is so and so from XYZ company, and you know, is this Brent? You know, and so he immediately just kind of like punches it in the face, right? And so I think you got to be, and obviously people are like, well, okay, I got to be different, but like how? And that's like we're getting a mentor, and maybe trying some things will come in, right? Just try. I mean, why not try? You got a few calls today. Try a couple different things, right, for your hook, and well, that didn't work, and that, I mean, maybe it will, maybe it won't. So, but trial and error is tough, because you'll waste a lot of time trial and error unless you really get like a method and like something that works. And I did that. I've done it both. Like I've done trial and error for a long time, and I've been. It's basically that trial and error period is the painful period, because you're trying different things, and so. It might not work, might.
Yeah, and when you do, the problem is I see in sales is people do nothing but trial and error. You have to stick with one way long enough to get a baseline, to know if you're doing better. You know, maybe you got 10 sales that way. Well, if you'd done it the other way, would you have gotten 20? Give yourself a baseline, find a framework, and then try to make that, then compete against that framework if you want to. But yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, I see people doing just trial and error. It's like, well, how do you know it's working or not? It's like you don't have anything to compare it to. So and you've said some things very interesting over the course of the conversation. Knowing that you have a product that is they can believe in, that's going to help people, right? I think that the actual when you have that, and then you have a framework where you know where you are in the whole situation, and you kind of know, hey, other people have used this guy uses it, this guy uses it. Okay, I have a great product, I have a great system. All of a sudden, just those two things right there give you an unfair advantage, probably over every other salesperson, right? Now you just got to walk it out. Did you have kind of favorite questions? Did you have kind of go-to questions that you would ask, maybe to either to kind of as a good follow-up question or as a good intro question to really get you connected with the other person's problem or pain point, so you could then start really selling to them?
Yeah, a couple. So one thing I liked is like just the basic understanding of kind of what your product is. I mean, that's a great way to start. It's super easy. You have a product. Hey, what do you know about it? And shut up. Like I say that all the time. Like, ask a question, shut up.
Right.
And so let them like get through their mental process and like, oh, okay, and nod your head and then shut up more, right? And so then they'll give you a little bit more. And so I like that one. I like the idea of like, if you're on the current trajectory, this idea, and you can ask it a different way, but if you're where you're at now, how's that current trajectory looking for the next year, the next 2 years, the next 5 years? Like,
those are really good.
You're excited about, like, whatever problem it is, right? And then they can see like, oh wow, if I don't solve this, like, oh yeah, it's going to get worse, like that type of thing. They can see, well, okay, well, a lot of people, I get where you're coming from, because a lot of people see the same thing. That's why they switched, or that's why they have my product, right? So, and then you can, there's a lot of different things, name dropping, asking questions, and then I think on questioning, as we're kind of on that topic, getting underneath the surface of questions, getting to that pain point, not just a superficial, like, because the what do you know is like more superficial, right? And then you can kind of dial it into like, okay, well, where are you going with that? Like, how does that, like, are you excited about that? Like, are you happy that like that's happening? Like, whatever it is, like, does that make you nervous? Like, that type of questioning where it gets more into the feeling, because, and there's a whole psychology on, I mean, people know about different personalities, right? There's there's colors, there's labels, there's all kinds of personalities, right? And you can kind of tell a little bit kind of what people are what their personality through questions. I mean, questions are so powerful because they just give you so much information.
Right.
It's like, wow, as a salesman now I have like this bullet, this bullet, this bullet, or this button, this button, this button, this button. Now it's like, okay, I got so many buttons to push. I'm just going to pick one. Like, he's giving me all that.
Right.
I mean, people literally will sell themselves. Like, if you ask the questions, a lot of times I'd have people come with me and be like, dude, that was so easy. I feel like she was just really, really ready. She wanted solar. I'm like, she didn't know anything about solar when we showed up. What are you talking about? Like, the reason it was easy is because we guided her from A to B, right? We let her discover it. We let her like figure out the problem. We taught her something. Then all of a sudden she could see it in her own life, and she could see like a better path. She could see where the future was going. Like, yeah, she's on board. And then sometimes with new people, it's like, oh my gosh, you're making this so hard. Like, you're making it so hard.
So
we've all done that, right?
When they make it hard, what are the things that they're doing that's making it hard?
I think a lot of times they're overselling. Like they think of like the traditional sell of like, I gotta talk more, I gotta say more, I gotta show her how it's more awesome, like no, you don't. Like, you need to probably be quiet. That's the biggest thing, and ask questions. I think that's the biggest thing, and then guide them. And then if they're off track, okay, well, what about this? Like, guide them back to maybe a point. But over talking and kind of going off the rails, I think is super common for salespeople, because I go off script a lot, but I come back. Like,
Go
I
because
call it getting off the freeway, but coming back on the freeway. Like, get off the freeway on that tangent. Go ahead, check out, see what's on that side road, but get back on the freeway and get the cell moving.
Yeah, because you have a framework, right? And you have a freeway they're actually riding on instead of just going across country. That I just kind of lost the thought there, but you said a lot of really good stuff there. I do feel that people, when they start over talking, all they're really sharing with the other person is what they see that's valuable in the offering, and they haven't really found out what the other person sees valuable yet. So they can speak to that, right? And I used to see that all the time. I used to be one of those guys. I would do the knife demos like in Sam's Clubs and then hand out the kits. It was like a little 10-minute pitch, and that script was so good. All I did was say the script, and then I'd train other people, and then they would just keep talking after the script was over. And I was like, man, you just talked for 10 minutes. What more can you tell somebody? It's like if they're either going to buy it or they're not, just shut up. And but they would always just keep saying the same thing over and over. It's like, dude, just walk away. How important to you? First of all, a couple things. People think of door-to-door salespeople. They do not think of you. They think of the fast-talking guy, think of the guy sticking his foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? You're very laid back. You're very, you are not what people think of, which I think is great because it shows you the power of having sales skills. But your type is not what people would generally associate with, I think, door-to-door sales or, one-on-one on-the-spot selling. Is that something that you found worked to your advantage? Or are you a different personality when you're selling?
No, I'm pretty relaxed at the door. So part of that's my own personality, and part of that is like being who you are. Like, it's hard enough to communicate, just communicate who you are. So I have guys and girls that are all different personalities that do well. I don't think it's necessarily personality. Now there's like a typical hey, I'm gonna take 3 Red Bulls, and go out and pound these doors,
Right.
There's those guys, right? So I get that, and I follow some people on Instagram that are selling shows their door, and I'm like, whoa, no wonder people are turned off by some of the door-to-door people. So I think when you be yourself, and within yourself, there's good things. Do people like you? If you can legitimately answer yeah, I have some friends. Okay, then be yourself. You don't have to be someone else. But with that, know the skills around it, right? So I have people that are high energy, and they're like, okay, great, and they get at the door, and people are like, oh, people are the energy comes up, and they kind of have a lot of fun and all that too. So just be who you are, but with that, you have to realize sometimes you got to tone it up, sometimes you got to tone it down. So sometimes I'd have to tone it up, right? At the end of the day, I'm a little tired. I'd have to tone it up a little bit.
Right.
I'd have to. So. I get on these podcasts. I got to dial it up a little bit too, otherwise I'll be boring. So you kind of within reason, right? But you want to be yourself.
Right. So that again, I think that comes with having a really good framework. And it sounds like you have other things that you when somebody opens the door. How fast are you talk about the 4 colors or the 4 personality types? What's going through your mind when they open the door? How much information are you trying to take in just from the visual? How fast are you trying to ascertain what type of person they are and then adjust to it? Is that kind of the first and foremost in your mind?
Not the first and foremost, but you definitely want to be aware of that pretty quick, because they're going to open the door, and a lot of times people want to speak so fast, but I just would pause and just smile. And then they look at you okay, and so it just slows it down a little bit. But and it's hard to tell within the first, pretty quick, because sometimes I've had people literally answer the door like mean, and then within 20 seconds they calm down a little bit, and then within 30 seconds they're or a minute, they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, like, okay. And they're with you. So it's hard to say because you don't know what's happening on the other side of the door. So you don't want to like judge people or like assume that they're, and yeah, there are those people that all the neighbors say, oh yeah, that guy, he's
Right.
the worst neighbor. Like, so you get those guys, but at the same time, yeah, you want to be, and so our idea was we just kind of gives enough information at the door to be able to like sit down with them because we want to be able to like give a real shot at like real selling, not like at the door. So we'd give them a quick pitch, and we'd try to go into their house, sit somewhere that's comfortable, or in the garage, or somewhere that you can actually like sit. Now, when you're sitting, that changes the game because at the door they say you're a pest, and the inside you're a guest, and so you want to be able to cross that threshold.
Interesting.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because people invite you in. It's like, yeah, people invite me in all the time. Like, wow, like that seems like such a shocking thing because you just met these people. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it, right? And it's not like you're barging in their door, right? Like,
right.
You're not gonna get anyone to sell them that way. So it's trying to get them interested enough to like hear you out for a minute. And there's definitely some nuances and some techniques to do that.
Very cool. And that's an interesting thing. And you said something earlier about, getting people talking. And when you get people talking, even though you're not inside, you're still living in, I think Jim Camp said this a lot, you're still living in their world, right? When they're doing the talking, A, it gives you time to think, but B, you're in their world. And I think he said you're always safe in their world. And so then when you get in and they're the master of the house, you're their guest, what a great transition that is. So as far as people, let me ask you I'll ask you this question in a second. Let me put a pin in that one. But
okay.
One thing I'm curious about is, I think maybe I saw this on your website or somewhere. Tell me about stories. How often do you use stories in sales, and what do you have a few ready to go stories that you would always use, or is that something, I mean, how would you use those as a selling tactic?
Yeah, stories are really important. So when you think about stories, I like to think about the transition story. So how did, maybe it's you, maybe it's another client, maybe it's another customer, how did they go from not having it to now they have it? Like
right.
your product, service, whatever it is, right? So how did they go from there? And I literally just tried to like go from like one story to the next story to the next story, like as like a chain, because I can't remember like what's last week, right? So I don't know, maybe it's just, so I tried to really like, hey, the neighbor, whoever was the last person, the reason they're really looking at this, maybe they weren't even sold, maybe they didn't even have it, but the reason they were really wanting to know is they wanted to see this, and they were, frustrated with this. Does that relate to you? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. And, they could say, yes, it does, or it doesn't. That's fine. But it gives that credibility of like, hey, there's a lot of other people that are doing this mm-hmm. and getting this, right? What I offered, they're choosing to have it. So I just try to keep those, but think of it and not just like, oh, I met Mary down the road. She's a super nice lady. You could say that too. I said that all the time, but hey, I met Mary down the road. She's super nice. You might know her. She has the red pickup truck, whatever it is, right? The red pickup mm-hmm. truck. She walks her dog. Mm-hmm. And, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. She's actually going to get her solar panels here in like a month. And, oh, nice. Okay. And then whatever her transformation story is, right? Yeah, she really liked the fact that, she's going to get a lower utility bill every month. And she really likes the fact that, she wants to do her part. And yeah, she's going to save some money, but she's more interested in doing her part just for environmental purposes and just, makes her feel good inside. It's like she can afford it, but she's going to save a little bit of money, but it makes her feel good inside. Like whatever that transformation story is, right? So I like to communicate that to the next person. And then this person that you're selling, you're going to translate that transformation story to the next person. So just keep it going.
That is great. That is really cool. I always like to have stories for objections. I don't want to because of this. Well, I don't know about that, but this guy used it, and he was worried about that too, and he found out that this was the better case.
That's great, Brent. You know your sales, man. That's great. That's like, these questions are like, whoa, this guy knows sales, because usually they're a lot more vague. Like, how do you sell somebody?
Right. Yeah, you do it long enough, man. You start figuring out the way, right?
Yeah, I like that. The story with the objection is powerful for sure, huh?
Love it. Because otherwise you're just in an argument. You know what I'm saying? You're just doing a back and forth, and it's like, oh, I don't know about that, but this guy happened this way, or this happened to me. And you always have, I always tell people, collect stories. I mean, you get a good story, collect it, keep that.
Yeah, I would say you do have like those like key stories, right, in your brain. Like, you need to have those, like, yeah.
Well, you hear the same few objections over and over, right? So if you have a good story for each one, you're good to go. Now, when you're training people, and this is a whole different animal, because maybe this is your coaching background coming into play here. Especially maybe it's changed too. I always, growing up, I played sports all the time. And you get out into the real world, and you can tell people that didn't play sports, right? Not because they're not athletic or anything like that, but because they're not used to being a part of a team. They're not used to getting yelled at. They're not used to putting in the work and trying to get better, and seeing that there's a possibility of a reward at the end of the hard work. And I think maybe that's even gotten more so as we get into this age where everybody's just kind of doing their own thing, and they're on their phones and playing video games and all that stuff. That is even more a relic of the past, that kind of mindset. So you coming from an athletic background, a coaching background, and when you're training people, what is your approach to training them, to really sharing the knowledge with them, to getting them on the right path, and to correcting them so that you're doing it in a way that's empowering? What are some tips you have there?
That's great. Yeah, that's a great thought. So the theme I'm communicating is like, everyone needs a coach.
Yeah.
So
true.
Think of the great athletes. Tiger Woods had a swing coach. Mm-hmm. Greatest, well, debatable, but most people think he's the greatest golfer ever. He had a coach. Tom Brady, most winningest Super Bowl quarterback all time, had a coach that trained him on just taking care of his body.
Right.
Like, these are the top people. And so that's one of the reasons I'm a coach, is like, look, like, people they need improvement, they need help, they need feedback, they need training. Like, we can all go from A to Z a lot quicker with someone helping us and someone guiding us. So that's kind of the first thing. And so I think in that mentality of like, I need a coach and I'm going to trust what they say, I think is a big thing. And you don't have to trust blindly, but you can trust a little bit and try and apply, and then see if it works, and then keep going. But getting
exactly.
people, and I love what you said, because I have a few sons, a few kids, but I have a couple of sons that are into sports. I have one that's not, which is totally great. Like, I love it. But I can see the fact that the ones that are in the sports, they're a little bit more mentally tough. I don't know how to describe it. Like, they're just they're just more mentally tough, because they're doing things that are like a little bit harder. They're practicing things like that. I think that realm is really beneficial. So, and I think sales is the exact same way. Mm-hmm. Like good luck winning at sales if you're not like mentally like ready and like want to get it, and like think of yourself like an athlete in that way. Like, you got to be training your mind. Like, you've got to be like trying to improve. You got to be trying to get feedback. Like, good luck, because sales will kick you in the teeth real quick and humble you really, really fast.
It will, won't it?
Anyone that doesn't think that, they haven't been in sales long enough.
No. So what would your approach be? How different would your approach be if your sons were coming to you as strangers, and you had the two that were in athletics, and you had the one that isn't? Would you take a different approach to connecting with each of them? Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah. So just like when you're selling from one person to the other person, you're going to adjust it to the person a little bit, right? You still have all the framework. So same thing as I'm coaching someone one-on-one. Like, we want to adjust it to what you're doing, who you are, your strengths, and the way we like to really is we want to like fill the holes of your weaknesses, but we want to let your strengths really we want to double down on like things you're good at.
Right.
And because, I mean, I had a shy guy that did really, really well. I'm like, oh man, he is painfully shy. I didn't even know if he was going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
But he just asked questions, and he gave a little bit of information, and all of a sudden people were like, oh, we love him. Like, he's the best. And
because he wasn't pushy, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so he, within his, his trajectory or his personality, now someone else I trained totally different, right? And so that's where the one-on-one coaching, I think, is really, really impactful, because you can dial in on a lot of nuances, and you can tailor it to the specific person a little bit more, specific niche a little bit more. So, yeah.
That is very cool. Well, I think all the stuff you're saying is great, especially for people in any sales, especially radio sales. I think if you're a salesperson, you're an entrepreneur. You are in business for yourself, especially if you're on straight commission selling. You may be working for a company, you may be part of a team, but you're in business for yourself, and you owe it to yourself to get the right training and to get the right information. I hope people will subscribe to this podcast for that reason, and find value in it. Tell us about your website. I love the name, Smooth Selling. Tell us about the offer you have available there, and tell us about how people can work with you.
Okay, great. So people can connect with me. Probably the easiest way is on Instagram at Coach_Luke J. So
Okay.
That's a good way to connect with me there. I post some I think good stuff that actually works. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't work that people are posting, but I try to post stuff that works and some funny stuff here and there.
Cool.
And then so my core training, and the way I describe my core training is like, if you bought me lunch, you can have the training. That's basically the price. So now it might be a little bit more expensive lunch, but it's,
Right.
So it's under $50 to have that.
Not these days, man. I know, right?
Yeah. So yeah, maybe not lunch pre-COVID, but post-COVID, yeah. So you can go to smoothselling.co. So smoothselling.co/offer.
Cool.
And that'll get you the info you need, and you guys can get registered, take the course, and then we can go from there. If you want more coaching after that, if you feel like, hey, this guy actually knows what he's talking about, and then we can apply some more things to you one-on-one. And we got lots of options for lots of people, not just salespeople, but business people, entrepreneurs, people working with personal branding, basically anything where you have something of value you're trying to communicate. And that might be yourself, that might be your business, that might be your product, service. So
Yeah, it's applicable to selling techniques. Work in any, you can expand them, you can shorten them, you can use them in any environment, because it's still just a person talking to a person so far, right? and they're very translatable. All right, Luke Jorgensen, thank you very much for being a guest on the show today. It's been fun. I hope people got a lot of value out of this. We will be back next week for another episode of Persuading for Profits. If you are watching this and it's the summer of 2025, go to persuadingforprofits.com/workshop. We're doing a summer workshop series here for radio salespeople especially. Go over there, check it out, and we got some great stuff going on there. Otherwise, we will see you next time on Persuading for Profits. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.